Well, aloha, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to PWT Talks NXT. We're talking NXT for April the 29th, 2025. Nate, I don't have time for this.
Oh my God, we don't. We got to go.
Yep.
We're done. We're off the air.
I have to go to Dallas tomorrow for the Dallas Card Show, which I do 6 times a year. It's always a Wednesday morning, so if I'm here the night before, it's a lot. And I decided to just do it this time because I was like, surely I'll be packed by Tuesday night. And guess who hasn't started? This freaking guy. So there's that. Also, don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but as of about an hour ago, I am getting a nasty sore throat right at the beginning of 5 days in Dallas, talking to people nonstop when the only other guy in the booth is partially deaf and already has a hard time talking to people without my help. So this show could be an interesting one, Nate.
We'll see what happens. We'll power
do
through.
Well. We are a very, very large company. We're one of the sponsors of this show, which is one of the biggest card shows in the nation, the second biggest actually, and after the national, which is, moves around every year. But here I am. You know what, Nate? I'm destroying my voice for the next 5 weeks just to tell you about the fact that I'm destroying my voice for the next 5 weeks. I knew it was bad.
It happens.
But now that I start talking a little bit, it's a little worse than I thought. Good news, only 4 matches to talk about. I really, really like the pacing of NXT on CW. I really do. They are just not trying to go breakneck like they did so much in the late Black and Gold and even in the early 2.0 era, and a little bit more after into the 2.0 era. I really like that they've slowed this down just enough. And they let these things breathe. Go ahead.
I wonder if, and this is just speculation, but you know, where NXT used to be a very fast-paced show was also about the same time AEW came into the fold. I'm thinking now they don't see AEW as, I hate to use the word a threat, but as a threat for their ratings. They're not on the same night, and well, I guess they technically are, but you know what I mean. They're not competing in the way that I think they were at the time, you know, when AEW kind of first hit the scene. So I think that allows NXT to kind of take a step back and let those stories breathe, which has been a godsend. I've loved it.
So your main event is Eio Sky and Jordynne Grace versus Roxan Perez and Julia. And when I say, does she still go here? That could be either Eio Sky or Roxan Perez. Of course, this was all about Eio just getting a big moment here. Baby faces with the clean sweep on this show. They don't do that very often, but baby faces won every match. And yeah, it was just Jordynne Grace and Julia battled to the back to write themselves out of the match, but also further their story, which was told in the end with Stephanie Becker and Ava. Ava saying Julia and Jordynne Grace will go at it next week to decide who is the next contender in a match that I'm sure will end up with a schmaz and a triple threat. But Eio gets the pin on Roxan Perez, and that's not going to hurt anybody because it's no big deal to lose to the champion on the main roster, and Perez is about to be revealed as Bayley's attacker, I think. So I think that will happen before long, and then Bayley will be back to sell that feud. And I think, but as Steve Repshire says in the chat, for the 73rd time, was this Roxy's last match in NXT? I'm going to say yes, but I don't know. Oh, Becky revealed she attacked Bayley.
I was going to say last night, I thought Becky already admitted that she did it. I'm like, maybe, because I didn't watch either. I didn't get a chance, but
I am
thought
one
I
show
heard that.
behind. I didn't know that had been revealed. And even in the thing, I was even saying it. Well, it's going to be either Roxanne or Becky. Those are the only two that make sense. And actually, when I watched SmackDown, or was it Raw last week, I was like, oh, it's probably Becky. And then it came back around. I started thinking about Roxanne, and I was like, nah, they're going to do Roxanne. So apparently not. Maybe I should edit the old review and just take my my prediction out of there.
It might not be a bad idea, but or just leave it for posterity. Yeah, you could.
Yeah, and okay, yeah. Just act like it's a weird bit of performance art. 14 minutes and 24 seconds. Eio Sky pins Roxan Perez after over the moonsault. It's so easy, Vic. It's so easy. Over the moonsault.
Yeah. What did
is
he
a
call
play
it?
on the
Like
words
moonsault?
over the moon. He's called it moon over moonsault almost every time he's ever seen it, because he's dumber than a box of hammers. It drives me nuts how dumb Vic is. It loses. I can't stand it. I don't understand over the moonsault. It's from something. It's a play on words. Moon over moonsault. There's nothing there. And 2 years of hearing this said on the main roster, no, he didn't get it. At least Corey was there to pick him up afterwards and say over the moonsault. Steve Repshire says it ain't NXT without your morning bowl of Vic. Yeah. Oh.
Yep.
What do I compare Vic to? A bowl of mueslicks? A plate of rice cakes? Because it's got to be bland, but also bad. So rice cakes, maybe. I'm sorry, I'm really piling on.
Plain rice cakes, because I do like some rice cakes, but not the plain ones. Not the plain ones.
Brock Benningfield with moonsault over my hammies.
You, Tom, and I have brought that up in the past. Oh God.
Oh,
yes. Good old Denny's reference.
Was that Perkins? Denny? Okay, it was Denny's. Okay.
Denny's.
I couldn't remember which one of them did that, but I knew which one.
But yeah. So I'll just start talking about this match, because we're now talking about Denny's.
Please do. I'm off the rails.
We're off the rails.
I've got a pack, and I'm talking about Denny's breakfast.
I know. You're like, you say to me earlier, like, yeah, or I actually think I said to you, we'll make it a short show for you. We're going to make it a short show so you can pack.
Yeah.
And here we are talking about the Denny's menu. Anybody want to talk about
all I want out of life is laughter. So, Brock gets me there, and
there we go.
And I'm off the rails. Okay, go ahead.
No, anyway, I really like this. I thought it was a great match, but it furthered two storylines, as you already pointed out. It furthered the Eio Sky Roxan Perez storyline. And Julia's obviously involved with that, with the attack on Rhea Ripley last night. But Jordan Grace and Julia are obviously they're already in a feud, so this kind of progressed their feud. And like I said already, with Eio Sky and Roxan Perez, I think this is pretty cool. This says a lot for Jordan Grace, putting her in this position with Eio Sky. We already know that they want to push Jordan Grace to the moon in NXT and on the main roster. I mean, she's already been in the Royal Rumble. She's already been kind of shown off to the main roster audience. We know she's going to have like a pretty solid run here in the WWE. So I think this is another just kind of notch in her belt here tonight in this match, going toe-to-toe, standing toe-to-toe with the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. And another thing that I like about this, so I was thinking about this during the match. You've Roxan Perez and Julia. They're obviously the newer talents. They got the upper hand over Rhea and Eio last night on Raw. And more people would have seen that. More people watch Raw than NXT. Now you can still Io still kind of gets her moment, here tonight and gets her revenge. Fewer people would have saw that. So at least storyline, you can kind of point to the fact that Kelly just okay, you lost your power for a minute or
That
something.
doesn't help. That doesn't happen during the show almost ever. But when my basement is overloaded, sometimes I lose the light for just a couple seconds.
That was weird.
And that's been happening for months. It happened one other time during a podcast, but you didn't notice.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So it's Gremlins
But anyway,
is the short answer. Sorry.
For anybody just listening to the audio, Kelly's lights just went out and completely distracted me. But I think what I was saying was the fact that more people would have seen the newer talent on Raw. But you can still point to the fact that Io got her revenge, even though it was on NXT. So it's still I think it's all still works out, and everybody gets gets a benefit, I guess, from the way that they played this story out. I think this works for so many different reasons. And I'm not going to, you actually did put this in your report, but I thought it was awesome that they talked about the retirement of Meiko Satomura. I was wondering where she was, but obviously having her retirement in Japan, I think, is certainly fitting. I would have liked to see her have maybe one more match in NXT, but we'll unfortunately we won't be able to see that. But I wish her well in her retirement.
But Nate, you know who you do get next week? Timothy Thatcher.
That's true on Evolve, right?
Yep. No, he's in the Battle Royal.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he was
awesome.
Front and center. Yep. They.
I didn't know. I looked at the graphic, but I didn't actually notice him.
He was in the graphic. I thought it was weird that they revealed that. So the graphic had 23 guys on it, and I looked at it really quick to see if there was anything worth mentioning. And the only things that are really worth mentioning is Ridge Holland still goes here. He hasn't been on TV, but he is in the Battle Royal. Swipe Right is in the Battle Royal, and Timothy Thatcher is in the Battle Royal. So that is all that I saw fit to make mention of.
I would love to see Timothy Thatcher back on the NXT roster. Oh God, I'd love to see that.
So I'm caught up to where we are now before tomorrow night's show or tomorrow day's show, whenever it goes up. But yeah, it's been good. Thatcher's been in 2 matches. He lost both of them to up and comers. So if he's going to be a thing on NXT and or the main roster, maybe they're like, it doesn't matter. He can go to Evolve, have a couple of good matches with guys, put them over while they're on their way up. But yeah, he's tough as nails. Timothy Thatcher doing his thing, but has jobbed in both of his matches. And I can't remember who he's wrestled now because I've mostly been binging these a few weeks at a time when I watch them. But oh well. I mentioned
how long is Evolve? I haven't actually watched it yet.
How long is 48 to 55 minutes each week.
Okay, that's pretty.
And it's on Tubi, so it's got so it breaks for commercial breaks, and then I pick it up. It's good, and it really drives home the insane level of talent in just holistically in wrestling right now. Like, take people who became stars like Carmella or Liv Morgan. Every single match on Evolve so far has been better than every single Carmella or Liv Morgan match on NXT. Wow. Like, those two became really good on the main roster as what they do, at what they do. But they had to kind of learn on the job. We've got people who have just lived all the way from their youth, and the women especially, it really stands out because we've got a whole generation of women who have now seen that you can do it, rather than the women who had to kick the door open because it wasn't happening in their youth. Yeah. and now they're seeing other women do it, so they're more inspired to give it a shot on their own. But yeah, I really really dig Evolve, and I like I really like Rob Stone and Peter Peter Rosenberg on commentary. Peter playing it relatively straight, and then Stone being somewhat a heel sympathizer.
That's actually that's a solid broadcast team. I like that.
And then there's a ringside guy who talks to people after the matches, and he's just like a bro. He's like somebody I'd see at a card show, and I'd be like, okay, can this conversation end? It's like he's super bro. This guy Chewy Martinez. He's not. I don't dislike him, but I'm like,
bro, why
here? But whatever. Let's talk about something else that happened on the show. Femi and the Undertaker. Why not? Little moment. Femi, and he was just interviewed in the back. He wasn't out front this time. And Undertaker came in and said, "This is your yard." And doesn't act starstruck ever. And he didn't hear, but he said that means a lot coming from you, which from Oba is the most you're going to get. So there's
it almost felt out of character, but like, he had to say it, but it didn't feel right.
Well, Undertaker probably demanded it because it's
obviously. But
yeah. And I guess we'll tie that into Trick Williams had his. I still don't get why they did with Trick what they did, but they did do it, and Trick is essentially a heel. Ava said, "You're going to have to take 25 steps back because there's a 25-man battle royal next week. Maybe that should be 24 steps back because he's one of the 25. Doesn't matter, but yeah, he's got to get through a battle royal next week. Trick, I thought, once again with Trick, his mic time's good. But should he be delivering heel promos when he is the most organically popular guy NXT has arguably ever had? And I have seen every episode, so I don't come at that lightly. But yeah, he's doing the thing. They're having him try out the other side of the aisle before he goes up, which whatever. But I don't think they should have slowed him down.
I kind of agree. I at this point, I think just full steam ahead. They can't really turn back. But man, he really felt so special when I was at NXT in Lowell, right before, for the episode before Christmas and the Christmas episode. He was clearly one of the biggest stars in the biggest star in the building, and you could feel it. And then they took him off TV, and now they've for a little while, and obviously now here we are in this kind of heel role. It works. He still feels important, but he doesn't feel nearly as important or as big of a part of the show as he used to. I guess they have obviously their reasons for doing it. I don't know if maybe they want to just see how he works as a heel before sending him up, because obviously once he hits the main roster, it's a reset for that character. I shouldn't say that. It usually is, but I'm looking at what they're doing with Roxan Perez, and it's just a very it's a storyline that is kind of progressing between both of the brands. So I guess I can't say that with confidence that it'd be a reset for his character once he hits the main roster, but it could be. They could certainly do that. I don't know. I don't dislike the heel character, but I feel like he is so much better when the fans are behind him. Obviously, we'll get there again, but it is what it is for now. I'm cool with it. I like he's putting all of his energy into it, though. Obviously, we saw him show up at TNA and attack Joe Hendry after he won his match. Successfully defended his title. And then, kind of saw a little bit more of that here tonight. Joe Hendry getting attacked by Deep State. Dark State. I knew I was going to say Deep State. I'm going to do it every time. Dark State.
As long as you don't say moon over moonsault, we're
Yeah,
still good.
moon over my hammies. Oh God, now I just completely lost my train of thought. Started thinking about Denny's again. I'm hungry. Yeah, but
while you find it, Steve Repsher said, "Who is the guy in the white vest at the front of the Battle Royal graphic, and why am I confused in thinking it's Matt Cardona?"
I gotta find the graphic.
I don't remember who was standing where, and I don't have the graphic in front of me, but I remember taking note of Shawn Legacy, who is on Evolve, and was it Shawn Legacy maybe? Because I could see Shawn Legacy being mistaken for Matt Cardona. So
hold on,
Steve, if you've got that photo there.
Okay, I don't know who it is, but I could see how it would be. You might mistake him for Matt Cardona.
I don't have it here, so why don't you look up Shawn Legacy?
Hold on,
and tell me if that is who you're looking at. Because he's been doing Evolve.
There we go. I could just put it up on the screen because we have the technology for those of you watching.
Oh yeah, that's Shawn Legacy. Yep.
Cool.
Mystery solved.
All right.
Ethan Page front and center of that graphic. So he could win, but
Ethan Page is the only or one of the only men in that picture with two shoulders.
Yes, there you go. Yeah, but are they laying it on too thick? Does that mean, is that a double blind? Okay, let's talk about another match. Why not? There was another match with 4 people in it: Hank and Tank versus Josh Briggs and Yoshiki Inamura. I got my issues with Hank and Tank losing a million matches and then becoming champions, but I don't have a lot of issues with this match. This was pretty good. Briggs and Inamura. I find it hard to believe that guys who are strong style guys who strike this hard could lose to power guys who don't do a lot of power offense, but whatever. 10 minutes and 30 seconds of pure fun. And Briggs and Inamura, Briggs especially leaning just a little bit heel because they know that Hank and Tank are going to get the response that they're getting. So this is the kind of thing where I don't know. I think they're going to be fine. I like that they didn't linger on Fraxium. Did they even mention who they won these tag team championships from? I don't think they said their names.
I don't remember. I don't remember hearing.
They're out of the territory. So whatever, because Fraxium beat, was it Angel Umberto?
Yes.
I think it was, and then that continued the story of Santos being kind of unimpressed by them. So I think that's who they beat. But at any rate, this throat thing is going to be a problem at this show. Okay, so Briggs and Inamura, I just love both Briggs and Inamura, and Hank and Tank. They're not like totally my guys or anything like that, but I understand they're like, if you can be the Bushwhackers, because they had a really long career. Heels on the independent circuit, but then were extremely beloved Buffoons on the main roster. And I think beloved Buffoons is probably the height of what they can do on the main roster. I don't know that those guys go championship, but I think that this is an act that maybe could be decent enough to go to the main roster. Keep them around for a while, but maybe they get there eventually. I also think Briggs and Inamura are a pretty good tag team. Wouldn't mind seeing them in the New Japan Tag League, but that's not going to happen. So Briggs and Inamura. Briggs actually eats the pin to, I don't know, either Hank or Tank after they did their finisher. Goodfella says, I was a kid. I marked out for the Bushwhackers, LOL. And the Bushwhacker. Okay, so I got into wrestling right before WrestleMania 6. I was 13. and the Bushwhackers were just guys I liked even from before. Ryan Solorio says Hank and Tank are already above Buffoons. LOL. No, they're not. They are Buffoons, and I mean that with love. I don't mean Buffoons in the sense that they're idiots and they shouldn't be.
It's like telling Kurt Angle he sucks.
It is. I'm saying these guys are the right kind of dopey. And
yes.
This is the kind of dopey that I find a really that I love. In my life, I am a buffoon. Trust me, that's my act. But I'm just saying that's the act, and it's not negative at all. Negative at all. I think Hank and Tank can have a really, really nice career on the main roster, and
absolutely.
And they don't have to win a lot to do that. I think that they can be a really fun act, whether they win a lot or not, and they can be a tag team version of Santino. So there you go. And Ryan says, I feel like Buffoons are jobbers. I can't call the tag team champions Buffoons. LOL. I get it totally. But the tag team champions are jobbers. They've been jobbers for like 6 months, which maybe is why it's easier for me to say that. But again, I think the breakdown is that we're just not saying Buffoons in the same way. Goodfellas says Otis. Absolutely. Yes. Otis, also a buffoon. Also, I really like him. And he can have a decently long career, although I worry with all the people coming up that that Otis could be somebody who's displaced. But yeah, I hope that they are not. And Brock says they are our buffoons. That's all I'm trying to say. If these guys are buffoons, let them be mine. Absolutely. Would have liked to see him win a couple matches before they won that thing. I get the story. I get it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever. I talked about it ad nauseum last week and now. So there you go. Hank and Tank versus Briggs and Enamora. Pure fun, pure bliss. 10:30. 2 really good tag team matches on this show. Hank and Tank still your champions, Nate.
Indeed. I think this was a lot of fun. I thought this was great just from the get-go when we saw Enamora just flatten. I think it was Tank. Right as the bell rang. And I was hooked right from there. I think towards the beginning of this match, Corey said something about Enamora needing to eventually go back to Japan. Do you remember hearing him say something about that, or am I making things up?
I don't remember, but I can't say for sure that you're making things up.
Okay.
Because a lot of the time while I'm typing, I'm not necessarily listening.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying, but I'm pretty sure he said something along those lines. And at the end of this, after Briggs, I'm going to do that till the end of time. Brooks and Briggs. When Briggs, after he ate the pin, the two of them kind of just looked at each other in the ring, and it almost looked like maybe a little bit of foreshadowing that we're going to get a feud between them potentially before Inamura needs to go back to Japan. Just a guess. I don't know, but that was kind of what was going through my mind. I would love to see that feud. I mean, the two of them have some great chemistry together as tag team. I'm hoping they could have, they'd have good chemistry together in a match, singles match against one another. But I wouldn't complain because if that was to happen, because I want to see these guys do maybe a little bit more. Every match that they've been in together, I think they've more or less lost, unless they needed to advance to another match for some reason. But for the most part, they're losing. It would kind of be nice to see them in a singles feud and just kind of get a little bit more time to shine. Obviously, one of them's still going to have to lose, but you know what I'm trying to say. Yeah, like you said about Hank and Tank and being the tag team champions, I'm okay with it. The only thing that I don't like about it is Fraxium were unbeatable for so long, and they beat so many great tag teams. I mean, they beat the Hardy Boys, and the Hardys are arguably one of the greatest tag team champions, tag teams of all time. No,
They lost to the Hardy Boys.
they did lose to the Hardy Boys.
They did. So
it wasn't for the
I get
titles.
what you're saying.
It wasn't for the titles.
That's
right.
Right. It was
Thank
for
you.
the TNA titles, which made us know what was.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay, but still, so you know, but you guys know what I'm saying. They beat so many great tag teams to get to where they were, and then they lose to Hank and Tank, which is great. Don't get me wrong. But you know, I'm looking at the chat right now, and you know, there's some chatter going on about the Job Squad and Gilbert, and you know, and it's almost I wouldn't say that Hank and Tank are like the Job Squad, but they're maybe like a notch or two above them. I love them. Don't get me wrong. Love the Job Squad too. But
Good fella asked, was Gilbert in Job Squad?
Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
It was Al Snow, Blue Meanie, Gilbert, Too Cold Scorpio. Which oh god, I loved Scorpio. He was the first guy that I zeroed in on when I started watching WCW. And I felt like I was really branching out because everybody in town was only watching WWF. There might have been a fifth, but if there was, I don't remember it anymore.
There's something.
Steve Rapture says,
Bob Holly.
"Pin me, pay me." That is what Bob Holly. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that guy. You should just guess him for everything because he's like the third longest tenured guy in wrestling ever after Miz and I don't know, like Cena.
Yeah.
As far as being there and never leaving? I know Miz is right there. But yeah, he's
yeah.
CJ LaChapelle says Too Cold came off as an idiot in Dark Side of the Ring. I have not seen, so I don't watch a lot of Dark Side of the Ring because these are stories I know, and I love wrestling, so I don't want to be depressed about it all the time. And I know all these stories, so I didn't read that. I didn't watch whatever episode he was on, and that's a bummer if true, but I don't know what I can tell you. He sure wasn't an idiot in the ring, but
you know who also
there are a
came
lot of
off
guys
kind of
who are
strong
great in the ring, and yeah.
You know who else came off kind of strong at one point in time? Horseshoe.
Yeah, he's Horseshoe is probably the biggest miss by any company. I think he should be the 17-time champion. The one we're talking about, rubbing elbows.
Those
with Cena
words have never been uttered and never will be again.
I'm the only one who will ever say it. Okay, let's talk about we're talking about Hank and Tank, so let's talk about Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry was there right away at the beginning of the show.
Say his name and he appeared.
Wow, I know that we had that production value. That's great. But he cut a promo on Trick, and then Dark State attacked Joe Hendry. What a bunch of jerks. You know what, Nate? These guys, I think they might be heels. I'm not on board with what they're doing. So later on, Joe Hendry is in the trainer's room because they attacked him. So he was hurt. Hank and Tank go to him. By the way, Hank and Tank twice tonight by Vic were called the Belly.
Oh, you put it in your thing.
Belly Brothers.
Belly Bandits.
Belly Bandits. Yes. Now Vic, real good at misnaming things, but he said Belly Bandits twice, and he was probably looking at a paper rather than trusting his own idiotic memory. So Belly Bandits might be a thing. This is kind of like Jim Ross trying out the name New Age Outlaws, and if it sticks, it sticks, and if it doesn't, it doesn't, and it did. So I think they're trying out Belly Bandits, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I think with names like Hank and Tank, I don't know that you need a team name because
that's all you need.
But if they want one, then sure, let them try it. But they are going to face Dark State next week. We don't know which three. Doesn't matter. They will almost certainly. Dark State will almost certainly beat them. Either Hendry will pin one of Dark State, or one of Dark State will pin Hank or Tank. Because Hendry's figured in to the main event. This could be where, if they want to do this, they can have Trick Williams revealed as the leader of Dark State. Brock Benningfield brings up the Wet Bandits. Yes, I recently watched Home Alone, and
I believe in Joe Pesci.
Where God damn. Okay, I'm having fun tonight. I believe in Joe Pesci. All right, somebody sing that. We'll play it next week. The Wet Bandits. Yes. I'm just amazed that, watching Home Alone, the thing that we all think of as Home Alone, it's like 12 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Him versus them, it's like 12 minutes of the movie. Okay. Well, I believe in Joe Pesci. Nate, that is the funniest thing you have ever said. Okay. I'm in a good mood. Despite whatever's happening with my health right now. So Joe Hendry, he's back. He's involved. How messy or clear is the main event picture about to be on NXT?
I think it could be. It could go either way, honestly, with the way that they're booking recently. You kind of like to throw us some curves here and there, but I don't know. So obviously Joe Hendry here in NXT, I'm for any and all involvement for Joe Hendry. I like his involvement with Hank and Tank. I wish maybe they were. They kind of stuck him more towards the main event. I don't know if he's going to really necessarily be involved with Trick and Oba. He might be, but I don't know. For me right now, it doesn't feel like that. It almost feels like he tonight was pushed aside and is now dealing with this Dark State stuff. He may get back to it, but maybe not. I was going to come up. I was going to kind of bring this up. Ryan brought this up in the chat. Do you think Joe Hendry might cost Trick Williams next week? That's something potentially we could see. I don't know. I mean, Joe Hendry's not in. He's not in that battle royal. There's the potential for him to come out and cost Trick. The match.
Well, he's not. But only 23 of the 25 are pictured.
Oh, I didn't count them. So, all right.
I did. That's the first thing I did because they love that trick.
Yeah.
So even before I was looking at who was in it, I counted, and it was 887.
All right.
I might be a nerd, Nate. I don't know if you've ever considered that, but
from before I met you, yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh God, what was I saying? Joe Hendry doing things and stuff. Trick Williams, Oba Femi. I don't remember where I was going, but I'm here for it. Let's put it that way. I think this is going to be a good send off for Trick Williams. Trick's going to the main roster at this point. There's not much left for him to do here in NXT. So why keep somebody in NXT that is already polished enough to be on the main roster? He was the last big champion here in NXT. Now this is going to be his kind of passing of the torch to Oba Femi. Not that Femi really needs it, but I think it's kind of, just that ceremonial passing of the torch. And then I think, I don't know, fingers crossed we see Trick appear on the main roster sooner rather than later.
Harmon Smith said, didn't Joe challenge Oba title for title? If he did, I didn't type it. I don't know if he said that straight up. But at any rate, if he did, well, it's not set for Battleground because Battleground is the Battle Royal. So next week. So if he did, I didn't catch it. Ryan Solorio said they hinted at it last week. Yes, indeed. I didn't think that was set in stone, but I will at some point consult
I've
the interwebs for that.
right above my monitor, I have the poster for Battleground last year because I was at Battleground last year, and I am so shocked at how different the roster is. It is, wow, in just a year.
Always.
Like, no, I know, and I should know better. I do this every week, but it just kind of hit me like, wow. Anyway,
Tony D's your constant. Tony D and Andre Chase, they've been in the brand for like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
So
yeah, neither one of them were on the show.
Talking about that. They were both on this show. Tony D and
they weren't
Andre
on.
Chase.
I meant Underground though, or sorry, Battleground from last year. They weren't on that.
Oh, okay. Okay. I was going to say you have forgotten much of what happened tonight. Okay, so Nate, they say that breaking up is hard to do, but everyone on NXT is doing it. Ashante the Adonis and Carmen Petrovic breaking up. Metaphor breaking up. The family breaking up. And No Quarter Catch crew talking about it. They're talking to other people. So maybe hinting at a breakup there. I believe I covered all the obvious breakups, but it seems like they're doing kind of a reset with some of this.
Yeah, it does.
The Metaphor one made me sad, and I'm glad the announcer said that because it made me sad too. Noam Dar saying to his Heritage Cup, "It's just you and me now." So, yeah, I get that they're all kind of in different places. Oro Mensah, he is one of the centerpieces of Evolve. I think it's weird because Luca Crucifino has been positioned as one of like the 4 centerpieces of the Evolve men's division. But on NXT, he's dead. So I don't know. He's not dead yet. But yeah.
Well, we don't know.
Upgraded to alive for the purposes of Evolve. But yeah, he's one of the big guys there. He and then 2 other guys whose names have not committed to memory because I'm old now. But yeah, those guys. Yeah.
I did know that, Ryan. Solo Sikoa's middle name is Yokozuna.
I did not, but what an awesome
middle
thing
name
to do.
Right?
I mean, his name was Kokina, right? His wrestling name was Kokina before it was Yokozuna, but I don't know if Kokina was his actual name.
No, it's not. It was Rodney, if I'm not mistaken.
Rodney Anoa'i?
I'm almost positive. I got to look it up, but I think
I know there's a Rodney Anoa'i. That's him.
Yeah, Rodney.
Okay. He doesn't look like a Rodney.
Right? He doesn't. But yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But that's one of those things I knew at one point. But yeah, Yoko, RIP to one of the best big men ever.
But it's speaking of RIP, I was the Metaphor breakup was kind of sad for me. They do say if you're gonna break up when you're hot. Obviously, Metaphor hasn't been around in a while, and I think people are really looking forward to seeing Metaphor kind of get back together with Noam Dar coming back and all of that. But I kind of agree with what Lash Legend said. Everybody is in kind of completely different spots right now. They don't need each other like they once did. So why not? You break up. You can still be loosely affiliated with one another. I'm sure if Lash needs somebody by your side, Jakar Jackson will be right there for her, or same thing with Oro and Noam Dar and the 4 of them. You can always be affiliated with one another. You're just not necessarily in a stable. So that's fine. Be interesting to see kind of how it progresses. I think Lash and Jakar are going to be more on the main roster. I'm really looking forward to seeing how Noam Dar is going to be, protecting that Heritage Cup. I'm kind of hoping he kind of regresses back into that crazed Noam Dar who was like obsessed with keeping the cup. That was some great television. Um, I don't think it'd be, I don't know, might not be as good without Metaphor, but it could also be much better without Metaphor if he's able to kind of, portray that on his own. So we'll see. What would the other breakups?
I don't care what he does as long as he brings back the rounds.
Yeah. He's got,
that's what I love about that championship. I think if the rounds don't come back, the championship should go away.
Yeah, I agree. They don't need it. They don't need it. It's not going to be special.
Another, yeah.
Then the NQCC. I don't know. I could potentially see that. If the NQCC does break up, I would like to see Ren and Charles stay together as a pairing. Whether it maybe not. I don't mean like a love connection or anything like that. Although who knows? Maybe they go there. But those two have such great chemistry together. Ren is hilarious, absolutely hilarious. I don't know if you guys catch much of her. Hey, you lost power again. That was weird. I don't know if you guys catch much of what she does on social media. I've lately been just doom scrolling on YouTube Shorts, at night because I insomnia. And I wind up seeing her stuff on just kind of pop through it. Oh my God, she is absolutely hilarious and lives that character. She's going to go far. I think she has the potential to go so far in this business. But what was there was one other breakup that I'm missing, or two.
Petrovic and Ashante the
Ashante.
Might as well talk about that match with Sol Ruca. Sol Ruca winning in 327 with the Soul Snatcher, as one would expect. A nice little match.
It was good for what it was.
Carmen can, she could be given more minutes, but that's not what this was about. This was about taking her away from Ashante, which I feel like is dangerous because it's the only interesting thing that she's ever done. And it's the only thing he's ever done since Hit Row, and Hit Row isn't about to walk back through that door. So I think it's iffy, but I also think that in terms of post WrestleMania cuts, Ashante is probably going to be one of them.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah,
I hate to say it, but
if they're coming, he's got to be on the bubble. And even though I liked him in this storyline, but the fact that they had a storyline for him with Nikita Lyons, which, sorry, but that's what they were doing. And then Nikita was just kind of de-emphasized and taken off TV to the point where she could be one of those cuts too. And then they never followed through with that feud with suggesting that he was talking to both girls or whatever. But Carmen, it looks like she's still figured in. It looks like she's going to still be somebody that they try out. I don't know. Carmen, jobs here in 327 to Sol Ruca, but I still think Carmen is somebody that they're working on.
No, I'd agree with that. I think there's definitely an upside for Carmen, and she just really hasn't had a chance to shine yet. There's so much talent in the women's division here in NXT right now. It's really hard for some of the women to get, for everybody to get their time on TV. Carmen's somebody that's been around for a little while now. At least a year and a half, couple years, something like that. Maybe even longer. But she could get, kind of get a little bit of a push, or she could be due to get a little bit of a push, I guess. The stuff with Ashante, I don't know. I mean, I feel like this love angle kind of between the two of them was just to give them something to do. I don't know. There's not much substance to it. There hasn't been much substance to it. It's one of those, very low card angles that if you're not actively thinking about it, you're not thinking about it at all. So I don't know. I think for both of their sakes, it's probably better to just move on. If Ashante, hopefully hopefully he does stick around, but if I wouldn't disagree with you that he could potentially be one of those, that may get cut post WrestleMania, cuts that they are always kind of tend to do after WrestleMania. Yeah, so it's really all I get to say about that. But the match itself, like I said, it was a pretty good match for what it was. This thing between Sol Ruca and Zarya, you can kind of see that dissension building between the two of them. Zarya, it almost feels, I'm going to use the word subservient, but that's not really the right word. To Sol Ruca, she kind of feels like she's the, maybe the Janetti of the group right now, or the in the way that they're portraying her, especially where she, kind of steps up for.
I'm going to go with Jim Neidhart because she's
that's
tougher.
That's a better comparison.
With Janetti breaking down as much as he did, with each passing year, I want to compare people to him less, even though I get the comparison.
But no, I actually like the Jim Neidhart comparison.
I'll go with Jim Neidhart. Yeah.
Yeah. And
who I love, by the way. Love.
Oh, yeah. 100%. Nothing against Jim Neidhart, but he was always that heavy for Bret Hart, or the Hart Foundation in general. Sol Ruca, Zarya feels like that right now for Sol Ruca, especially where she's kind of stepping in and kind of protecting Sol and things like that. They pointed out on commentary that she was kind of, maybe looking at the title a little longingly. Granted, it was Corey that said that, but they're still planting those seeds in our head. There's just so many different threads that I feel like they're sowing, or seeds right now that they're sowing, for that initial eventual breakup of Sol Ruca and Zarya. And I think it's going to be a good thing. Zarya, she came in with such fanfare. There were like some great vignettes and video packages, and then kind of, I don't know, she didn't fizzle out because she's getting TV time every week. But I think because she came in at the same time as Stephanie Vaquer and Julia, she didn't quite get the push that she might have if she came in on her own, or maybe, a little bit earlier, a little bit later than the two of them. But again, hey, she's still in a great spot, and I think she's got a lot of room to kind of grow in to a better spot in the card.
You can email us at what's
PWTorch NXT at gmail.com.
Thank you. I didn't know which one to start with. Brian Alston gives me this. Brian from Phoenix, the 34-year senior Torch VIP subscriber. Hello, friends. As you know, I get the West Coast feed of the CW, so NXT hasn't started yet, so I'm living vicariously through Kelly's report. I've been thinking about Tony D'Angelo for a while. I like him and his gimmick. I am a faithful listener of the NXT livecast, and I realize the majority of our group is waiting for the D'Angelo family and this storyline to conclude. Over the years, they have been adding more and more layers while taking away layers. You should mute. I'm getting a lot of whatever you're doing over there.
All right.
D'Angelo has been using this persona since October 2021. As a reminder, he teamed up with Braun Breaker, Carmelo Hayes, and Grayson Waller as Team 2.0 in War Games in December 2021. Oh my God. Breaker, Hayes, and Waller have found some success on Raw and SmackDown. Tony is still in NXT. It can be argued that Tony is one of the most decorated wrestlers, having held the North American title, tag team belts, and Heritage Cup. Question: post-Family Feud, what would you do with Tony D'Angelo? Don't forget to listen to the Torch VIP exclusive podcast NXT 8 years back, where Kelly and Tom Stout cover the May 3rd, 2017 edition. Matches include Heavy Machinery and an 8YB fave, Kona Reeves. Also, Tom and Kelly answer a movie question. This week, it is about 1999 screenplays. Thanks, Brian Alston. 1999 was a good year for movies. I'm looking forward to that. What would I do with Tony D? Cut him. Sorry. I guess I'm talking tough tonight. Tony. Okay. I don't buy a mafioso gimmick in wrestling in this day and age. I just don't. You can feed me just about anything, and I'll try to eat it in wrestling now. But I have a hard time with this mafia gimmick and him being a good guy, because that's what he was doing, and he was just trying to be loyal to his capo. So I think that's a lot. I just don't. But the bigger deal is I just don't think Tony D is great at any aspect of wrestling. Not talking, not wrestling, certainly not wrestling. I think if you put it, they put 4 or 5 years into this guy, and he's still. If he was twice as good, he'd be Happy Corbin. I don't know what to say about what Tony D is doing now. I just don't know. I mean, he's certainly not a main event talent, but I just don't know. Oh gosh, I think that this guy has worked for it. I think that he's improved. I don't want to be this negative about somebody that I know has really, really tried to make it in this industry. I just don't think that he has it. I think that he can be, if you want him to be the next Big Show, Kane, Baron Corbin, then do it. Just bring him up, send him to the main roster, and just have him do that and lose most of the time, but wrestle for 8 years and get a big paycheck. I'd be thrilled for him. But as far as moving him up the card, no. Nate, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm a little higher than you are on Tony D'Angelo, but not. I don't think I'm much higher than you are than he is. I think he does hold his own on the mic more than you give him credit for. Granted, I know you do the acting thing, so I guess I do defer to you a little bit on that. But
he's not bad by wrestling standards, but he's not so good at it that it overcomes his other deficiencies.
Faults. Yes.
Yeah.
But I agree. I mean, he's an average wrestler, maybe a bit above average. He's still good. He still can captivate a crowd. For how, because like, man, I was reading this email. I just when December 2021. He was still using this persona. That like, wow, that it's been that long. It's been almost 4 years. That's insane. It's like at this point, I guess just kind of pull the trigger, bring him up, and do something with him. It's like you always say, if you can be the Miz, be the Miz. And I think, like you were just talking about, putting him in a role similar to either him or the Big Show, Kane, that's, I think, where he belongs. I don't see him ever winning a main title. He didn't win the NXT title down here in NXT unless something changes in the very near future for him. But I could see that character. I could see that character getting over to a mid-card point. But I think it has a ceiling on it. And I know that's something we've talked about many, many, many times on the show before. Any gimmick like that, you're going to have kind of a ceiling. And I think it's going to be hard to break into the main event that way.
Brock Penningfield says you can't put that character on 2025 main roster. It ain't gonna fly. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's right. I don't see how he fits in without being laughed out of the room. Like you could have him be a guy who aspires to be that or who is trying to be that. But he's been like that on the show forever. I'm going to go slightly back in the chat because two different guys said, leave the gun, take the cannoli. Of course, one of them, Goodfella 1422. Clemenza is my favorite character on The Godfather, which was one of the best movies ever. I really wish that Richard Castellano had not held out for more money and deprived us of Clemenza in the second movie, because Godfather Part 2, by the way, the part of Frankie Five Angels would have been so much bigger if it had actually been Clemenza, and it was supposed to be Clemenza doing all the stuff that Frankie Five Angels did. Oh boy, we missed out. And so did Richard Castellano. It's too bad. So, yeah, that's leave the gun, take the cannoli, a great line, which was ad-libbed by Richard Castellano.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, one of the big ones. Yeah, that one, and we're gonna need a bigger boat. Two of the biggest ad libs ever in film. So, yeah, one other person emailed us, Kevin Catani. Salutations, gents. I hope this email finds you well. Woo! This was a solid episode with some good storytelling and some strong action too. I love Hank and Tank as champs. I also love Enamora too, and seeing Eio back in NXT was a treat for sure. How are you going to do all that and not mention Briggs? Briggs is 1,000 times better than Hank and Tank. Okay. I think the thing I popped hardest for was Undertaker showing up with some of the LFG talent. Great show, by the way. I totally recommend it. If anybody has been iffy on it to this point, I'm not iffy on it. I just don't have time. I think the three guys that showed up will look really good against Oba. Did I say their names? Shiloh Hill, Anthony Luke, Jasper Troy. I'm not watching LFG, so I had to write down their names. As we have now seen several NXT call-ups in the last couple of weeks, what do you think Oba's timeline is? Thanks as always. Go VIP and listen to 8YB. Office hours are now over. The Professor, Kevin Picatani, PhD. Oba's timeline is whenever they need a main eventer. So they've probably told him, hey, we know you're good enough. We know you're ready. We don't want to screw up your development by bringing you up at the time where there's no seat at the table at the main roster. Oba is somebody that you don't keep down because he's not ready. You keep him down because you need the right opening for somebody that awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Oba Femi is one of the best wrestling prospects in history. And I don't say that lightly. I really, really think he is. I adore Oba Femi, and I can't wait for the day where it happens for him. So they got to do it at the right time. He's not being kept down because they need him to develop. If he does, then great. But they're keeping him there because they need timing, and they need to see what they have with certain other guys on the main roster. And but Oba's somebody that you got to at least consider the big moment of having him come up and winning a major title in his first episode. That is how good he is. Like maybe he comes up and faces Jacob Fatu. Oh God. I just made myself super excited. And he does something like that. Yeah,
he needs to have a debut like Brock Lesnar's debut. He needs to have some sort of, now again, that was in the hardcore division, but it was very impactful. People still talk about it. Brock Lesnar came out in, what was it, 2002, 2001, whatever it was, and just decimated.
I think 2's correct, actually.
I think it was 2002. He needs to have something along those lines. I think putting a belt on him right out the gate would be amazing. I would even I was going to say Gunther might be somebody good for him if Gunther wins the title again, World Heavyweight Championship. That would be an amazing debut for Obafemi. Have him beat Gunther, because Gunther's already established on the main roster as one of the toughest guys out there. Maybe a little defined down just a tad after tapping out to Jay, but that's also the story they're telling us right now. But I agree. I think he's one of the greatest wrestling prospects. I mean, I hate to say in history because that is a big lofty thing to say, but it could very well be. Could very well be.
I said that because I'm talking big tonight, but yes, I do not know all of history. Trust me on 1990 to now. Before that, don't necessarily take my word for it. Talk to somebody like Wade or Mick Karch, somebody like that. So, Mick Karch, by the way, comes into my store and talks wrestling with me. So, any of you who are really old and that means something to you, then definitely go. CJ, you're asking me that question about Bayley. I will cover that. In fact, why don't I do it now before whatever else? You can answer this at the end. When Bayley returns, do you see her having a tweak in her character as the same Bayley as the last year? I'm glad I waited on this because when I first read your question, I thought it was still possible for her to be announced as the attacker. I think there needs to be a tweak in what she's doing because of how she was jerked around here in the last month. She got plenty of time on TV. She was an important person until it got to WrestleMania, which is a real bummer for her. So that is, I think there has to be either an edge or something different to her. Have her start a new faction. There are a lot of options. I think that Bayley, I remain optimistic that she's fine, but nobody is as much of a Bayley fan as you, CJ, but I'm close-ish in comparison. I adore Bayley and I want the best for her too. And she is my favorite all-around performer of the Horsemen. I think the others all have holes in their game that she is better at filling, even though she wouldn't be like number one necessarily at certain things. Of the four of them, she is by far my favorite of the four horsewomen. But I think that I hope that when they bring her back, it's a big deal. And the fact that she's in a feud with Becky means it's a big deal. And I hope that's not just a Becky thing and it's a way for both of them to get nearer to the top. CJ says, I'm getting worried that she might not get another world championship. There's so much talent coming up. I don't want to like tell you, hey, this is definitely going to happen, but it could happen because there's so much talent at the top. I think there are some very, very awesome women's wrestlers right now who are done seeing world championships because of the amount of talent coming up. So
I could definitely see, and Bayley said this in her interview with Chris Van Vliet. You know, she hasn't won the women's U.S. title. She hasn't won the IC title. Those are two titles that, you know, because she was a Grand Slam champion until those titles were until those titles came into existence. Do I see her winning another world title? I would love to. I would love to say that she's going to do it. I don't know. And I think she even alluded to that fact herself in that particular interview. Is right now she's at the stage of her career where she wants to help people progress and grow. Damage Control was her idea to help people progress and grow, because, you know, she's already had that time in her career to progress and grow and kind of be on top. Now it's her time to give back. I still think that there would be value in giving her another run as a world champion, whether it be the WWE title, women's title, or the world heavyweight title. I think there'd definitely be some value in there, because by winning that title, I think you're telling the audience that she still means something. But even if she doesn't win it again, and let's say even if she doesn't win the IC and the US title, she is a mainstay player. She's somebody that you're going to see on your screen for a long time, and I think doing pretty cool things. It might suck that she may not win the big one again, but I still think there's definitely a good possibility for the two undercard titles. And at this stage in her career, I think even actually, because the way that it was, that might have came out sounding bad at this stage in her career, that's a good thing. But I think it is, at any stage of your career, it's a good thing to win a title. But I think it's keeps her relevant, and also adds some prestige to those titles because of former world champions won them.
Not sure if you're catching my cats as
I
extra.
am.
Okay.
Yeah.
CJ says she deserves it. Her run last year was booked so poorly. Yeah, she had to lose her championship to Nia Jax, which no good. Yeah, and let's try Nia Jax again. Oh, okay. Ricky Saints defends against Lexis King, 8:25. This was the first match of the night, and Ricky's stuff has been very good. Lexus's stuff has been the best of his career, but this match was just kind of there. 8:25 with almost half of that being during on the commercial. But yeah, Saints still your champion, but you knew that because I already said that the baby faces won all the matches. Anything on that particular match that they didn't really hang on that. We don't have anything more for Saints. We don't have anything more for King.
Yeah. It was an okay match. I mean, the two of them have some great chemistry, I think. I think they know each other, fairly well from the time in AW and things like that. So, it was a solid match for, like you said, for what we saw. What I don't understand is why Lexis King is getting, I mean, obviously storyline, I know why he got this opportunity, but why is he getting this opportunity? He just lost the Heritage Cup. I don't know. I just feel like you go back to the bottom, go back to back of the line or something like that. There's probably somebody else that deserves a shot at the North American title more than you, but that's just my feelings on it. I honestly, I do like the Lexis King character. I think, we've talked a lot about where he's going to be on the card with that character. I think when he first came in, we thought he was probably going to be a little bit higher than what he is, or probably a lot higher than where he is right now. Just given the pomp and circumstance that he had coming in. But watching him tonight losing again, I think this might be what his role is. He might get some push here and there, but I think largely he's going to be this over the top character that's annoying, that's going to be satisfying to beat. And I think he's kind of like Teflon with that, because all he has to do is get up and then complain about getting beat. And he's so charismatic, and this character's so charismatic that it doesn't matter. And he just moves right on. So that was definitely something I noticed tonight and started thinking about.
We talk about the next Miz a lot.
Yes.
But Lexis King
Could
might be that.
Yeah.
I think they're underutilizing Grayson Waller in that role, but even though they're utilizing him a lot. But yeah, I think that's a decent landing spot for Lexis King.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's about it. That's all I get to really say on that. Like I said, like you said, they really didn't give us more, on where they're going with the match. I do have to say, I love the Rochambeau as a finisher. I think that's such a cool looking finisher.
Yeah.
But that's that's all I got to say.
And
Okay.
it's an out of nowhere finisher, so
Yeah.
so they can keep that going too. Goodfellow says Ms. Roll of NXT. Did he say that before I started talking about it?
He
We're
said
all on
that,
the same page.
Yeah, it came through about the same time you started talking about it.
Okay. What else happened on this? Carmen, Gigi, and Tatum talked about Ashante. Ashante cringe is what Gigi said. The calling, they had their sit down moment. Sean Spears putting them over. Big smile on Easy Dame's face. Loves to be in this dark room.
Big creepy smile on her face.
Tony D and Stax had their scene. My takeaway is, if you could look like Tony D but be the performer of Stax, we'd really have something. But unfortunately, one of them looks like Tony D and one of them performs like Stax, and they can't put it together. Okay, Dark State did a thing, and Saquon Sugar's still by far the best on the mic of all these guys. Chase U is back. F you, Ted. They went hard at Ted. Poor Ted. He's just a guy who looks like he's about your age, Nate. So a non-trad guy in Chase University. Great for him that he decided last week that Chase University was going to continue on, and now he's already got a
room
class full of people.
Yeah,
good for him. But it's sad not seeing Thea and Duke, and I'm not going to mention Bodie this week. I'm just not, okay.
I was just
not going to say Bodie's name. I'm not going to say Bodie Hayward's name. Kalani Jordan says she wants to fight Sol Ruka, but Zarya got all up in her business and says you got to face me first. So yeah, next week we got the Battle Royal. Jordan versus Zarya. We got the 6-man with Hendry, Hank, and Tank versus Dark State, and I believe next week is also Julia versus Grace. So pretty stacked. Not a lot of wrestling minutes in this show. 36 or 37 minutes of wrestling, but we're headed towards something. Steve Repsher saying Chase U paying big NIL money. This guy follows college sports. So yeah, there's the stuff. Anything, Nate, on the other stuff that was said?
Not really, no. We've covered pretty much everything. I think that's important. Yeah, not much. Let's go home.
Ryan says, don't forget Riley Osborne. I would not forget Riley Osborne. He is working on Evolve and is winning on Evolve. I think he's 2 for 2, but I can't remember. With Evolve, it's more about who do you get a feel for than who's winning and losing. Although Callie Anderson is winning, and I'm also seeing big things for her. Callie Anderson. Remember the name? You heard it here first, unless you didn't hear it here first. She's great. Yeah, Riley Osborne. Was he on this episode, Ryan? Sorry.
I don't think
Riley is.
I don't think so. You were just naming off people that were in Chase University. So he was like, "Don't forget Riley Osborne."
Oh God, right. Don't forget Riley Osborne. Okay, so yeah, didn't forget that. But he's just a dude doing stuff on Evolve right now. Good fella and CJ both say travel safe, have fun in Dallas. Safe travels, Kelly. Thank you. Yeah, go to Dallas, see me, talk to me at the Ultimate Collectibles booth because I was going to say I'll have time, but I probably won't have time. Very busy at the show. Thanks so much, guys. I love doing this, and shouldn't have done this the night before I'm about to fly out to Dallas. But whatever, I'm not going to be able to do everything I want to do in Dallas tomorrow because there are going to be storms. So I've got that to look forward to as well. I'm Kelly Wells. You can find me on Blue Sky at other Kelly Wells. And again, love this chat. I'm going to say it every week. And Ryan Solorio says, travel safe, Kelly. And I lied. Horseshoe. He said horseshoe in all caps. What am I supposed to do, folks? But talk about Luther Reigns, aka Horseshoe. Man, that guy. If he comes down to party with me in Dallas, I will probably die. Because he can party a lot harder than I can at this stage. I used to be 20, but Horseshoe never stopped being 20. Nate, who are you?
Nate Lindberg. Check the things I do out at natelindberg.com.
Love you guys. I really do. CJ, hang in there with the stuff you're going through. Cheers.
Indeed. Take care, guys.